It's Tuesday, July 19th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. We're back in studio after a few days on the road for our Main Street Merchant Tour, bringing you the latest local news. Frank Granito will have a Nutmeg Sports update and a look at the forecast, and Donald Ang will join us to take a look back on this day in history. But first, yesterday's thunderstorms hit some towns hard, as you can see in a video taken by Stratford Star editor Melvin Mason. Many lost power in nearby towns, including Shelton and Trumbull, and some major roads, including some in Reading, were also closed for a time following that storm, but you can follow what happened in your town on your local HAN news site. And in other news today, Stratford police officers have identified a motorcyclist who died Saturday in a crash on Main Street. Upon arrival at the scene, officers said that 49-year-old Dominic Ferranti was lying in the roadway unresponsive. Ferranti was traveling north on Main Street near Freeman Avenue at the time of that accident. Ferranti was transported to Bridgeport Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. At this time, the accident appears to only involve the one motorcycle, but it is still under investigation, according to police. And the daycare facility where 2-month-old Bella Redondo of New Canaan had been before dying of a head injury last Tuesday has had its license suspended so police can continue their investigation. According to the Stamford Advocate, Little Bears Beginnings Daycare in East Stamford has been temporarily closed, with 3 people there under investigation after the baby died of suspicious circumstances. Officials say they also found several safety issues at the daycare, and Bella's death has been ruled a homicide by blunt force trauma to the head. A GoFundMe account has been set up to aid the family with burial expenses. Close to $12,000 has been raised so far. And in a chillingly similar story, Fairfield police say the death of a 4-month-old Shelton boy that occurred earlier this year is now being investigated as a homicide. Lieutenant Robert Calamaris said Fairfield police responded to the call of an unresponsive infant at an unlicensed daycare service back on March 22nd. Calamaris said when officers arrived on the scene, Adam Siegel of Shelton was cold to the touch. He was transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. According to police, the investigation was opened when the chief medical examiner conducted a toxicology report and discovered high levels of Benadryl found in the baby's system. Police said the baby was healthy prior to that emergency. Carol Cardillo had been running the unlicensed daycare at her home on Edgewood Road for 11 years. Siegel's parents, Matthew and Michelle, have not made any public comment. Lieutenant Calamaris said this is an ongoing investigation and no one has been charged with any crime yet. And in New Canaan, a 19-year-old local man was caught and arrested by police after a foot chase from Park Street to Cherry Street Saturday afternoon. At about 2:40 in the afternoon, police received a report of a Radio Shack employee chasing an individual suspected of stealing a $450 Bluetooth speaker. When police arrived in the area of the Park Street store, the suspect, Dean Tarshoon of Logan Road, was observed and police began a foot pursuit. Police apprehended the man on Cherry Street across from Club Sandwich, handcuffed him, and took him to police headquarters. Tarshoon was charged with larceny, interfering with an officer, and criminal trover, which relates to the stolen goods being damaged when recovered. That incident occurred during the Village Fair and sidewalk sale. Tarshoon is scheduled to appear in court on July 26th. And state police have now arrested 3 out of 4 people in connection with the theft of a state trooper's rifle in March. That theft took place at about 4:50 in the morning in North Milford, where a number of cars, including a Connecticut State Trooper's car, were broken into. Among other items, a Connecticut State Police AR-15 rifle with 2 fully loaded magazines and a bulletproof vest were stolen. Detectives from the Connecticut State Police Central District Major Crime responded to that scene and assumed the investigation. And in conjunction with New Haven Police Department and other agencies, they secured a total of 7 firearm and larceny-related felony arrest warrants from the Milford and New Haven Superior Courts for 3 other individuals for offenses that occurred in New Haven and Milford. That AR-15 rifle, 2 magazines, and vest were recovered soon after they were stolen, police said. And in early July, state police detectives and the New Haven Police Department located Ingram, 20 years old, of New Haven, and took him into custody. They later arrested Leandre Crockett, 18 years old, of Hamden, and then James Lee, 19, of New Haven. The 3 were charged with a list of violations, including stealing a firearm and possession of an assault weapon. And Ridgefielder Ann McDermott, on vacation with her family in Nice, France, witnessed the truck attack on Bastille Day revelers last Thursday night from her hotel balcony overlooking the festivities. The family, her husband Rob Byrne and younger daughter Gwen Byrne, had been to Barcelona before arriving in Nice. They had decided earlier in the week that they would watch the fireworks from their balcony because they were being set off right in front of their hotel. They had planned a picnic dinner ahead of time, thinking that they would really just have the best view that way. Otherwise, they may have decided to join the Bastille Day crowd. McDermott said the fireworks had just ended and they were taking some family pictures when suddenly they could hear shots and people in the street start running. They were what seemed like thousands of people and adults carrying children. According to McDermott, it was complete panic, but you can get more on their perspective at theridgefieldpress.com. And average gas prices in Connecticut and on the national level are down 55 cents this week compared to this time last year. So that is some good news right now, but we are going to switch gears and throw it over to Frank Granito for a look at the forecast. Frank?
Thank you, Kate. We finally get a little break from the heat wave that hit us last week. We should have an absolutely beautiful day out there today. A high of 84 degrees with only about 40% humidity. There'll be a steady breeze around 10 miles per hour through the afternoon. Sunshine for most of the day with a few afternoon clouds before clearing up and dropping back down for a low of 62 tonight. Tomorrow might be the best day of the entire summer. Sunny all day, a high of 83. Again, very low humidity. Should be absolutely perfect with a nice little breeze. And then going down to about 60 to 62 through the night before Thursday, where we might be seeing the start of yet another heat wave. Temperatures expected back up in the low 90s, a lot of sun and the humidity rising way up as it'll be around 65% that day. Make sure you tune back in tomorrow as we take a look into the next week heat wave that might be heading in this weekend. Back to you, Kate.
All right, Frank, thanks so much. We'll have to enjoy the next couple of days, but we are going to step out for a break, and when we come back, Donald Ang is back, and he's going to take a look back on this day in history. Frank Granito has a Nutmeg Sports update, and we have some more news coming up after this. Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Keep your future star active and happy this summer at Future Star Sports Academy camps and clinics. The Academy is offering sessions throughout Fairfield County. Sign up for a week of basketball, cheerleading, football, or a multi-sports camp. At Future Stars Academy, children learn the fundamentals while under the supervision of qualified coaches. And what sets the Academy apart is its special Lessons of Life sessions, teaching values and focusing on building self-esteem, friendships, and honesty. Located at Sports Center Connecticut in Shelton and in Sports in Trumbull. Register online at futurestarssportsacademy.com.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 1 million people have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment programming since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to this July 19th edition of your coffee break on the HAN Network. And it's time to throw it over to Donald Ang for a look back on this day in history. Don, welcome back.
Thanks, Kate. And on this date in history in 1848, about 300 women and one very prominent man gathered for a 2-day women's rights convention in Seneca Falls, New York. The most heated part of the debate sprang up regarding a woman's right to vote, with many, including featured Speaker Lucretia Mott urging the removal of the concept. But Frederick Douglass, the convention's only African-American attendee, argued for its inclusion, and the suffrage resolution was retained. Exactly 100 of the attendees signed the document declaring the rights of women. To 1980, the Summer Olympics, officially the Games of the 22nd Olympiad, opened in Moscow, Soviet Union. 65 countries, including the United States, did not participate in protest of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the lifelong effort of a generation of athletes sacrificed for the Cold War. 1990, boxer Mike Tyson rapes Desiree Washington, a contestant in the Miss Black America pageant, in an Indianapolis hotel room. At a time when the issue of date rape was just entering the country's consciousness, the attack became national news. Tyson had attended the Miss Black America pageant to lend his celebrity to the event, and at his hotel, Washington agreed to accompany Tyson back to his room so he could pick up something he claimed to have left there. Tyson attacked her as she came out of the bathroom. A hospital medical examination later concluded that her injuries were consistent with her account of the events. And finally, now we go to 1989. Sad news for this. You're looking at Rebecca Schaefer, the actress there on the right. At the time, 1986 for My Sister Sam. She is 17 years old. 3 years later, she would be murdered at her LA home by Robert John Bardo, a mentally unstable man who had been stalking her. He was sentenced to life in prison for her murder. Schaefer's death helped prompt the passage of America's first anti-stalking laws in California. That is your look back in history for today, July 19th, and I'm Donald Ling.
Thanks so much, Don. Well, getting back to a little more news before we throw it over to Frank for sports. Stratford Mayor John Harkins says members of the town council who want to keep the closed center school building standing are misguided and have no real plans for the future of that site. Harkins and other Stratford town officials, in support of a plan to raise the closed school building to clear the way for a transit-oriented development project, hosted a hastily organized press conference on Monday afternoon, hours before a special council meeting intended to review information about the building. Harkins wanted to lay out a history of the center school site and the town's plans to eventually raise the building to clear the way for a mixed-use development and additional parking. Harkins said council members claiming they never received information on the town's plans for the school, which were last opened as a school in 2005, are not telling the truth. However, there's a lot more on that story at StratfordStar.com. We're going to throw it back over to Frank for a Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
Thank you, Kate. Hearst Media announced its roster for the 2016 Connecticut Girls Lacrosse All-Star Team, which featured 10 FCAC players. Darien led the way with 4 girls, including Chandler Kirby, Susie Ropp, Katie Cronin, and Laura Murphy. Ridgefield High had 2 girls as midfielder Kimmy Weinstock and goalie Maddie Burns were selected. The final 4 girls on the roster were Ward's Libby McKenna, Ludlow's Reagan Steed, Greenwich's Paige Mautner, and New Canaan's Catherine Granito. Darien's coach Lisa Lindley was named the Coach of the Year after leading the Wave to a 21-1-1 record, including the FCAC and Class L state title. Also on the roster was the newly selected Hearst Media Girls Player of the Year, Bridget Zima of New Fairfield High School. A 3-sport standout athlete for the Rebels, Zima excelled in cross-country, basketball, and lacrosse. She was part of the state championship cross-country team her sophomore year, finished her basketball career just shy of 1,000 points, and was named an All-American this spring by U.S. Lacrosse. Bridget led her team to the SWC Division I title and finishes her career with 430 points. She'll be attending the University of Connecticut starting this fall and will be pursuing her lacrosse career there. And finally, the Babe Ruth State Championships wrapped up over the weekend, and one of our local teams will be heading off to the regionals following their state championship. The Trumbull 15U All-Stars beat East Lyme 5-1 on Saturday to win their class of the Babe Ruth State Championships. Chaz Stolba had 2 hits, including a double and 2 RBIs. Stephen Lawley pitched a complete game for Trumbull, striking out 2. He also had 2 hits as well. Ben DeMello drove in a run for Trumbull as well, and now Trumbull advances to the regional tournament in Lynn, Massachusetts, which will begin on Friday. The 13U state championship game, Waterford defeated Stanford 11-1 to win their second consecutive title. We had the privilege of being there to cover the last 3 games of that tournament, and we will be giving you a full recap of those on Nutmeg Sports Today at 2 o'clock with Donald Eng. That's going to do it for this Nutmeg Sports Update, and let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. Well, getting back to a little more news today, with the invasion of Pokemon Go, the Connecticut State Police issued a list of do's and don'ts for players of the new popular game on its Facebook page recently. Those don'ts include don't play while driving, don't trespass. They also advise people not to fight or argue with other players or be lured into unfamiliar places. However, they do suggest that everyone have fun and get out and explore your communities, as well as stay alert and aware of your surroundings and making yourself visible when playing at night. Some good tips there. And in other news from the Milford Mirror, sometimes people ask to see the inside of the Memorial Tower, which is a landmark in downtown Milford, built back in 1889. That suggestion made the editor at the Milford Mirror wonder just what's inside that stately 29-foot tower that has become one of the most iconic symbols of Milford. So the Mirror staff borrowed the key and took a look inside. According to History of Milford, as the city was approaching its 250th anniversary, a joint committee decided that as part of the anniversary celebration, a substantial mark should be made in honor of the founders of the town. Town leaders decided to appropriate $3,000 to build the memorial bridge and tower, and construction started in the fall of 1888. But you can watch that full video with editor Jill Dion's narration at milfordmirror.com. We are going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we're going to recap some of the top stories we're following today on your coffee break after this. For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
Warm weather, light breezes, boats are in the water. There's no better place to celebrate summer than the Dock Shop. Whether in Darien at 51 Tokenique Road or Westport at 609 Riverside Avenue, the Dock Shop is where you'll find everything you need to kick off summer. From the latest summer apparel to the newest fishing tackle, the Dock Shop will help you get the most out of your next beach day or harbor cruise. At the Dock Shop, you'll find a wonderful selection of items made in the USA and right here in New England, all with a distinct nautical flair. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the coastal lifestyle, this is a unique place to shop. DockShop.com.
What's happening up in Hartford and what's trending in the Nutmeg State?
Join Kate Czaplinski
And Josh Fisher
on CT Pulse live Wednesdays at 12:30 to find out.
We talk to the leaders and newsmakers while breaking down the stories you should be paying attention to each week.
With the help of HAN's editorial cartoonist Doug Smith, we take a humorous look at the news of the week. We talk about everything you were told you should avoid bringing up in polite company.
CT Pulse, Wednesdays at 12:30 on the HAN Network.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
We're back on this Tuesday edition of Your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, recapping some of the top stories we're following in the area today, including that Stratford police officers have identified a motorcyclist who died Saturday in a crash on Main Street. Upon arrival at the scene, officers say that 49-year-old Dominic Ferranti was lying in the roadway unresponsive. Ferranti was traveling north on Main Street near Freeman Avenue at the time of the accident. He was transported to Bridgeport Hospital where he was pronounced dead. At this time, the accident appears to only involve the one vehicle, but it is still under investigation. And the daycare facility where 2-month-old Bella Redondo of New Canaan had been just before dying of a head injury last Tuesday has had its license suspended so the police investigation can continue. According to the Stamford Advocate, Little Bears Beginnings Daycare in East Stamford has been temporarily closed, with 3 people there under investigation after the baby died of suspicious circumstances. Officials say they found several safety issues at the daycare as well. Bella's death has been ruled a homicide by blunt force trauma to the head. A GoFundMe account has been set up to aid the family with burial expenses. Close to $12,000 has been raised so far. And in a chillingly similar story, Fairfield police say the death of a 4-month-old Shelton boy that had occurred earlier this year is now being investigated as a homicide. Lieutenant Robert Calamaris said Fairfield police responded to the call of an unconscious infant at an unlicensed daycare service back on March 22nd. Calamaris said when officers arrived at the scene, Adam Siegel of Shelton was cold to the touch. He was transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center where he was pronounced dead. According to police, the investigation was opened when the chief medical examiner conducted a toxicology report and discovered high levels of Benadryl in the baby's system. Police say that the baby was healthy prior to that emergency. Carol Cardillo has been running the unlicensed daycare at her home on Edgewood Road for 11 years. The boy's parents, Matthew and Michelle, haven't made any public comment. Lieutenant Calamaris said this is an ongoing investigation and no one yet has been charged with a crime. In New Canaan, a 19-year-old local man was caught and arrested by police after a foot chase from Park Street to Cherry Street Saturday afternoon. At about 2:40, police received a report of a Radio Shack employee chasing an individual suspected of stealing a $450 Bluetooth speaker. When police arrived at the scene, the suspect, Dean Tarshoon of Logan Road, was observed and police began a foot pursuit. Police apprehended the man on Cherry Street across from Club Sandwich, handcuffed him, and took him to police headquarters. He was charged with larceny, interfering with an officer, and criminal trover, which relates to stolen goods being damaged when recovered. That incident occurred during the Village Fair and sidewalk sale. And state police have now arrested 3 out of 4 people in connection with the theft of a state trooper's rifle back in March. The theft took place at about 4:50 in the morning in North Milford, where a number of cars, including a trooper's car, were broken into. Among other items, a Connecticut State Police AR-15 rifle with 2 fully loaded magazines and a bulletproof vest were stolen. Detectives from the Connecticut State Police responded to the scene and assumed that investigation. And in conjunction with New Haven Police and other agencies, they secured a total of 7 firearms and larceny-related felony arrest warrants from Milford and New Haven courts for one suspect and 3 other individuals for offenses that occurred in New Haven and Milford. The AR-15 rifle, 2 magazines, and bulletproof vests were recovered soon after, according to police. But you can get a lot more information on that story at milfordmirror.com. Let's throw it over to Frank Granito for one final look at the forecast. Frank.
And again, we'll have a high of 84 degrees today as we see a break in the heat wave from last week. Humidity down to 40%, a breeze around 10 p.m. through the afternoon, or 10 miles per hour, through the afternoon. Some clouds will roll in the late afternoon, but it'll clear up tonight for a low of 62. Tomorrow might be the best day of summer. High of 83, and it'll be sunny all day with low humidity and a nice breeze throughout the day as well. Thursday, though, temperatures will spike back up into the 90s. Humidity goes up with it, and we might be seeing a heat wave rolling in for this weekend.
Frank, thanks so much. And, of course, Nutmeg Sports at 2 o'clock.
Nutmeg Sports will be taking a look back at our coverage of the 13U Babe Ruth State Championships. We'll have highlights from the games that we covered, and we'll take a look at some of the other teams that'll be heading from Connecticut up to the regional tournaments.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And of course, 12:30, The Drive with Denise. She's going to be welcoming yoga instructor Robert Ortner. They're going to be talking about yoga myths and your health, so don't miss it. That's coming up at 12:30. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but of course, we will see you tomorrow at 11. Have a great day.